Welcome to the Explainer. So what if the key to building better cities, the cities of tomorrow, was actually hiding in a video game? Today we're going to dig into how urban planning is getting a serious shakeup from a pretty unlikely place, and what it can teach every single one of us.
Okay, check this out. This question comes from a real-life urban planner playing Cities Skylines 2, and it just hits the nail on the head. Are you just some serial king micromanaging one industry at a time? Or are you actually the architect of the city's entire social and economic life? The game really forces you to grapple with that bigger picture.
And you know what? That's exactly what a real-world planner does. They're the stewards of a city's master plan. It's so much more than just drawing zones on a map. It's about guiding the growth of a city so it actually truly works for everyone who lives there.
All right, so first things first. Any city builder, whether in a game or in real life, has to tackle the transportation network. But, and this is a big but, the game makes it super clear that not all pathways are created equal. We've got to talk about the huge fundamental difference between roads and streets.
And here it is, the core distinction. A road? That's a high-speed artery. Its only job is to move cars and trucks from point A to point B as fast as possible. But a street? Oh, a street is a destination. It's a place for people, for community, for business. And the game teaches you this lesson fast. When you try to make one do the job of the other, all you get is chaos. Absolute chaos.
So this brings us to a huge myth, one you've probably heard a million times, that lower speed limits just grind a city to a halt. Well, in reality, the exact opposite is often true. The key is applying those 30-kilometer-per-hour zones strategically on the streets, not the big arterial roads. When you do that, you boost safety and community life, and get this, because the traffic flows more smoothly, average travel times can actually get better. Wild, right?
So the question is, how do you organize all this? Well, the solution is something called an urban island, or a superblock. Just picture it. Think of a neighborhood that's protected by a ring of high-speed roads. That's for all the through traffic. But inside that ring, that's where you have your network of calm, low-speed streets where community life can really flourish. It's this simple separation that lets fast travel and slow living exist together, side by side.
Okay, our traffic is flowing. That's a great start. So let's tackle the next big challenge, moving people in ways that are healthier and way more sustainable. Yep, it's time to build a brave new world for cycling.
You see, for a planner, getting people to cycle is, well, it's a lot more than just painting a white line on the asphalt. This quote really says it all. It's a whole ecosystem of different users, different needs, different types of paths. It feels like a planning word salad, right? But every single one of those terms is an absolutely critical piece of the puzzle.
So to make sense of that big word salad, a planner has to break it down. They need a checklist. You gotta ask, who are we building this for? Commuters, tourists, casual riders? And how are they gonna use it? What kind of path do they actually need? And maybe the most important question of all, what happens when they get to the end of their trip? Answering these questions one by one, that's how you turn that chaos into a powerful, functional cycling network that people will actually use. Now, a really huge piece of this is something called multimodal travel. Look, most commutes are just too long to bike the entire way. That's just a fact. But cycling is absolutely perfect for bridging what planners call the first and last mile gap. That trip from your house to the train station and then from the station to your office. It's basically the glue that holds the whole public transit system together.
And that brings us to the final, and I mean critical, piece of this cycling puzzle. Think about it. A bike path is totally useless if there's nowhere to put your bike when you get where you're going. These end-of-trip facilities, we're talking everything from a simple bike rack to a secure shelter, they are completely non-negotiable. Without them, people just won't ride. Period.
Okay, so we've got people moving around safely and efficiently. Awesome. What's next? Now the planner has to build the city's economic engine, and to do that, you have to focus on its supply chains.
And the game makes this crystal clear. If you want to sell a box of cereal in your city, you can't just plop down a grocery store. No way. You need the bakery that makes the cereal, you need the mill that processes the grain, you need the farm that grows the grain. Heck, you even need support industries like a TV studio to make the commercials. You literally have to build the entire supply chain from the ground up. So, the planner's job is to create a master plan that makes this whole economic ecosystem possible. They have to connect all those dots, using zoning and infrastructure to make sure that raw materials can get to the factories,
and the finished goods can get to the storefronts and then out to the rest of the world.
So we've designed our roads, we've laid out our bike paths, we've kickstarted our economy. But what does it all add up to? What's the point? Well, in the end, it all comes down to the user experience, what it actually feels like to live in the city that you've built.
And this brings us right back to those urban islands we were talking about earlier. This is the payoff. When you design streets for people first, not just for cars, you get so much more than just a place to live. You get a real, living neighborhood, where people actually talk to each other, where kids can play outside safely, where a true sense of community can actually grow.
This is what planners call social cohesion. And really, all that means is that by creating these shared public spaces, and by taking away the stress and danger of fast-moving traffic from where people live, you are literally building the foundation for a stronger, more connected society.
So when you put it all together, you see that a better city isn't about just one thing. It's like a positive feedback loop. You get slower streets, which build safer, more vibrant communities. You get cycling as a real, integrated way to get around. You get smart land use planning that creates a strong local economy. It's the whole package, an experience that's designed from the ground up for the people who actually use it. And that's really the final thought here. Games like this prove that we can model all these principles and see them work. We have the blueprint. So the really big question is, if we can build these amazing cities in a simulation, what's it really going to take to build them out there, in reality?